Okay, let's kick off then. Thank you everybody for joining. Just a quick reminder, today is a community tea time. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the community events text channel, and we'll go through them at the latter half of the call. At the start though, what we'll be doing is introducing the team members. They'll be talking about the mission of the squad, as well as going through a few simple questions that we've already prepared, like what are they doing, what's in the roadmap, what are the things ahead. Without further ado, let me introduce to you the three team members that we have today from the Dev Experience Squad. We have Elizabeth, Zupi, also known as Kailash, Mentat, also known as CJ. Awesome. So again, quick reminder what Tea Time is all about. It's about introducing the teams behind the scenes that actually run Immutable X. So we invite people who are from product, engineering, etc., that you can get to know them and understand what they're doing as well. Now, without further ado, let me pass the mic on to Elizabeth and the team members to do a quick intro about themselves.
All right. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here today. My name's Elizabeth. I am on the product team at Immutable. Currently, I lead the developer experience squad, and I also work on special projects here and there. I was involved in the TikTok launch, and I'm also currently involved in the OpenSea integration. What it means to be a product manager at Immutable is that I'm out there talking to projects and developers, trying to understand what you all need, bringing that back to the team, and figuring out how we can solve those problems and make Immutable X better for you.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Kailash. I'm a product engineer at Immutable. I joined a couple of weeks ago, but I've been developing on the platform for almost 4 months. So my interest in Immutable came by because I helped a couple of projects launch on Immutable X. As a product engineer, I work in both the product and engineering teams. So my role is a bit of a hybrid. I contribute both in terms of engineering work and also in product work. So currently I work with Elizabeth's team on developer experience, and my focus is going to be developer docs and SDKs and examples and anything that makes a new developer on Immutable X more productive than they are today.
Hello, everyone. I'm CJ. So I'm an engineer working on the developer experience squad. So my job is to implement a lot of the features that come through, and I work predominantly on trying to help make sure everything runs in a smooth fashion, scalable APIs, and also just clean developer experiences that are easy to interact with. So getting a lot of feedback, which is excellent, and just helping the team. So I'm also pretty new to the team, recently joined maybe a few months ago. And yeah, it's been a blast, and thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. Looking forward to hearing more about each and every one of you. For now, though, let's talk more about the mission of the Dev Experience Squad. Could you say more about what exactly that means, making a great experience for the developers? Can you provide something concrete just for people who don't understand that?
Yeah, totally. So our squad mission is to create a world-class experience for developers building games, minting NFTs, building marketplaces, and also all the developers building other tools on top of Immutable X. What that means to us is that we want developers to be able to integrate and launch their product as smooth and seamlessly as possible. So to be even more detailed, we will have APIs that are fit to purpose, they're scalable, they're always stable. You can count on them for what you need. We'll have a whole bunch of SDKs that are in the language you need. They're open source so that you can build on top of them. We'll have docs that are great, they're easy to understand, they are tailored to what you need. And also, last but not least, a very strong community of developers like you all and Immutables to support our developer community. As we think through how do we carry out this mission, and who specifically do we need to consider, we are looking at all of the primary use cases. So games and NFT projects who are minting on Immutable X, liquidity providers like the big aggregator marketplaces and market makers as well, and tools and partnerships. So think of the rarity tools, the trading tools that we all use. Also, it's important to highlight that our squad is aiming to have Immutable X be 100% permissionless. So you never have to talk to anyone at Immutable X to launch your project. There never were any approvals. There was a queue, but there weren't any approvals. There never will be approvals. We're also aiming to make Immutable X even more decentralized, and there are some ways that we can do that pretty soon here, starting with open sourcing our SDKs.
Very interesting. Would you be able to explain why having this squad is important for somebody that's not technical, meaning I'm just a token holder, I just want the protocol to be successful? How does your mission and your squad slot into that?
So today at Immutable, we have several squads. We have squads focused on building out primitives at the protocol level. We have a squad focused on the marketplace and a core engineering squad building the very core infrastructure of Immutable X, and also a squad focused on our wallet product Link. Our squad fits in because in order for a project to launch on Immutable X, their dev team has to build something. And if it's hard for the developers to build things, if the documentation isn't right, if the APIs aren't really what they need, if there aren't SDKs, their experience building on Immutable X can be quite challenging. And at times they can become blocked and not be able to achieve the outcome, to achieve the project that they want to launch on Immutable X. So our team's here to make sure that that's never a problem and that the experience of the developer is actually a really great one, that they enjoy working with our APIs and SDKs, and that we can help them achieve what they need to.
Got it. So if I translate that, tell me if I translate that correctly. If our experience is easier for developers to build, then we can expect more developers to build on top of us, which creates more volume, hopefully, and therefore more value to everybody in the protocol. Is that right?
Yes.
Got it. Awesome.
Spot
Thank you. Cool. Thank you very much. CJ, I wonder if you wanted to add anything there.
I think it was covered like super well. I think the main thing is we want to make sure that we're creating exactly what our customers need, and it should be super clear. I think one thing is also just documentation. We want to make sure that our documentation is easy for people to come through, understand exactly what they need to do, and go ahead and implement it. So I think otherwise, yeah, our job is to make everyone working on our platforms' lives easier.
Got it. Awesome. Very exciting mission. I wonder if there's any wins recently that people want to share. What have you been up to that you can share to the team already right now?
Sure, maybe I can answer some of that. I think one of the probably the bigger ones that came out recently was our self-serve minting initiative. So this is the ability for anyone to come along and register. This was always the case. I think it's just more it was a manual process before, but now we have the ability for people to come along, register their projects, create a new collection, and go ahead and start minting, all without having to interact with anyone at Immutable. So it's a self-service minting project, which was awesome. We've also been working heavily on stability, like improving the stability of our APIs as we have like a lot of people now starting to come on the platform. So we're improving stability, and yeah, we're just working on some new, I guess, features that we've been hearing, like community members have been asking us for. It's ability to do like batch transfers, and also like we're looking at things like metadata recrawling on demand and things like that. So there's some really good features that we're working on at the moment that pretty exciting.
Awesome. In terms of the roadmap, then, what's within the roadmap of the developer experience squad? Maybe I need to pull up the public roadmap that we have and post that into thread. But yeah, anybody can share what's exactly in the roadmap that's within the squad.
Yeah, I can kick us off and I'll let CJ build on that. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're aiming to be 100% permissionless and as decentralized as possible. Our squad is currently working on self-serve metadata recrawl. What that means is that any project will be able to recrawl their own metadata on demand. Once that's done, we are mostly permissionless. There are just a couple of teeny tiny things that projects might need to come to Immutable X team for, but the likelihood is low. And then we'll be turning our focus to the SDKs. So we want to simplify the SDKs. We want to open source them, offer SDKs in more languages. And then we also have big aggregator marketplaces integrating. So we need to ensure that it's as easy as possible for these marketplaces to integrate with Immutable X so that they can launch as quickly as possible and increase the liquidity on the protocol. And in a parallel path to doing all of this, we'll be working on making our doc experience just as great as possible.
Got it. Speaking of marketplace aggregators, anybody that you can share? Any leaks that you can share, Elizabeth? Nobody will tell.
I checked with the team. I can't share anything from the business development pipeline, unfortunately. Hopefully something very, very soon. But I can share that the OpenSea integration is moving along and that we're still we're working very, very closely with the OpenSea team and aiming to have it done in Q1.
Oh, Q1. Super exciting. Are there already any details regarding that you can share? Like how will it work, etc.? Is it exactly the same as Mintable? Things like that.
Yep. So OpenSea's integrating with Immutable X, and what that means is that all NFTs minted on Immutable X will show up on OpenSea.
Got it. Awesome. Super exciting. Next up is, what else is in the roadmap? Like for this quarter, is there anything else you're super excited about?
Personally, I'd probably say like the SDK piece of work is exciting piece that we'll be looking to tackle after this. Just because we know a lot of people work in languages that are not just like TypeScript. So being able to actually have one, simplify SDK and our interface for customers, and secondly, being able to have that in different languages. So languages that are closer to what our customers are using, so that it's easy for them to integrate either into their native applications or other server implementations. That's going to be pretty helpful, and it's been good to get feedback from customers. And yeah, that's what we're looking to do.
Could you tell us more about that? Like this whole SDA thing, what does that open us up to? Or is there like a huge list of customers that want this? Why are we concentrating on that?
Well, so the main point of the SDK is like obviously we have an API, but there's a bunch of stuff that we don't want to have our customers have to bother doing. We want to make it as easy for them to integrate with us. So for that, we provide them with this SDK, which is software that they can run. It will be open source, so they can actually go through the code and see exactly what we're doing. We want them to be able to see what's running on their servers or what's running on their applications as well. So, but it'll be in their language, so that makes integrating into whatever. So if they're running Golang projects, PHP projects, .NET projects, or anything else, they're more than welcome to actually go along and use our SDK to be able to then integrate directly into their projects. So that's the goal that we have. That's our ambition, if you're thinking of it that way. And so this reduces the friction for a customer to interact with Immutable. And that means that it allows more people to be able to, very easily interact with our APIs. The second part of that is also the documentation. So along with the SDK, we want to make sure that our documentation is very easy. So even before people start coding, they can actually come along and quickly identify what are the methods, mechanics that people can interact with and interact and do on Immutable. And that way it's very clear, and they can actually create a plan before they come along and try to execute.
Awesome. Super interesting. How about you, Kailash? What are you excited about for this quarter?
Like CJ mentioned, I think one of the key things that I'm excited about is the fact that our team's going to be focusing a lot on SDKs. And apart from that, I'm pretty excited about revamping our whole documentation and make it more focused on value for customers and their use cases specifically. Right now, the documentation is very focused on how to mint NFTs. But I think what we're going to do is to expand that and focus on all the different kinds of use cases that customers use Immutable X and build on top of, and generally make the docs more relevant to all the different kind of customers we have.
Got it. Is there a particular success case or like standard we're trying to get to in terms of our documentation?
Yeah, there are a lot of. If you ask a developer what's the best documentation, what service has got the best documentation, I think a lot of us would say Stripe, and in the crypto world, a lot of us would say 0x. So I guess those are kind of the benchmarks or hallmarks of good documentation, both visually and in terms of the content delivered. So I think as a team, we're going to be striving to deliver such an experience.
Got it. Looking forward to it. Very good question from Annihilation. What's the biggest issue then you're facing as a developer experience squad?
I can answer that. We want to hire more engineers to help our squad. We have we've gone through a few things on our roadmap for this quarter, but there are so many more things we could do. We have a really big mission, and we want to achieve our mission as quickly as possible. So the best way for us to do that is to help our team focus in the short term. That's why you'll see us focus on one or two things at a time rather than making progress on many things, because we'll be able to get those one or two things done more quickly and to a higher quality. And also, our engineering managers are working super hard to find us some of the best engineers out there to join our team. So I guess a little shout out if you know of any engineers or if you yourself are interested in joining. We are hiring all roles, and you can get referral bonuses yourself as well for referring engineers to Immutable X.
That's it. Nice plug.
It's true. We want more people.
I guess the question is, what kind of engineers are a fit for the developer experience squad? Is there a difference, or is it a general engineer you're looking for?
CJ, what do you think?
Well, definitely. Like, one of the biggest parts or carryings that we have is that, customer-centric engineers. So engineers that are not only just thinking about the problem and obviously make sure they deliver high-quality, scalable code, but also making sure that we're delivering the right value to our customers. We don't want to engineer stuff that isn't really of any use. So a lot of our stuff, and Kailash can speak to this, we kind of have a very like customer-centric approach to developing our features, but also recognizing that the uses, like the type of use cases that customers are coming up with for Immutable is incredible. It's fun to watch, and so we need to make sure that whatever we provide, it's flexible enough to be able to adjust and support all the different needs of our customers. So we have a very high like flexible engineering kind of mindset, and so that's something that we look for in any engineer that chooses to join our team.
Awesome. I'm very curious if you could share more on that. When you say different use cases, could you give a few examples? Because a lot of people here probably don't see what's happening behind the scenes. How are people integrating?
Yeah, but like, because there's so many different types of products that are built on top of the protocol, right? So you've got people who are actually built like minting and creating projects and marketplaces, but you also have other people who are interested in like collecting stats, or they're interested in collecting like having visualizations of like all the different collections that are out there. So these are not people that are actually particularly building marketplaces, but they are creating like some sort of like collections for people to view, like the different type of collections out there, and they want to get the latest stats or enhance the stats with other metrics that they're collecting from elsewhere. So it's while traditionally we might have looked at, as Elizabeth mentioned, like minting use cases, now there are like all sorts of different types of users that are coming along and using the data, and we want to make sure that we support their use case, whatever that use case may be, with information as quickly as possible and as easy for them to retrieve it as possible, to build any cool experience that they want to build, either within their product or as a platform or supplementary to their product. So yeah, we're getting all sorts of new use cases where people either just purely trying to read off the platform, they just want to either visualize or showcase some stuff. They're not actually trying to mint anything themselves. So yeah, very interesting use cases, and we want to make sure we support their use cases.
Awesome. Does anybody in the team have any favorites or interesting use cases that they found that's quite unique? Obviously, Elizabeth, Kailash, CJ, feel free to chime in if you've seen any.
I'm just thinking, does anything come to mind to you, Kailash or CJ?
I'm thinking about what's interesting as well.
Or maybe
think-
challenging. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
well,
easier.
I think something that's really interesting is we're starting to see more and more market makers use our APIs, and some of them are learning how to market make on NFTs for the first time themselves as well. So as we go out and we talk to these market makers, it's fun because we're all learning together, and we're exploring their needs and how they can impact the liquidity of Immutable X. Big aggregate marketplaces are more of a target for us today, but we want the market makers to be able to use the APIs as well.
That's interesting. What does it mean if a market maker is plugging into Immutable X and providing liquidity? Because I understand it from a ERC20/cryptocurrency point of view, but what does that look like for an NFT? It's obviously non-fungible.
Yeah, I can answer this question if you like, Elizabeth.
Yeah, go for it.
I think from an NFT standpoint, given that Immutable's focus is on games, and play to earn or play and earn games have a lot of NFTs that they issue. And if you look at the characteristics of these NFTs, there are hundreds of thousands of NFTs, or maybe millions of NFTs in the case of Gods Unchained. You could consider these tokens to be semi-fungible in the fact that there is sometimes not a lot of differences between a large volume of these tokens. So in a sense, because of this characteristic of these tokens, market makers are trying to understand how they can apply algorithms to sort of treat them like fungible tokens. And essentially what they do is they find assets that are underpriced or overpriced and then execute the trade that is opposite to that price volume. And basically they enable people that want liquidity to get that liquidity and make a small profit off of that trade. And they do tons and tons of trades, and they make money. They make small amounts of money doing tons of trades. And so I'm assuming that they are trying to come up with similar strategies for NFTs as well.
Wow, that's super interesting. I'm very interested to see how that works out. Arbitrage trading, yeah, that's a good point for Annihilation God. Is this basically arbitrage trading for NFTs? I don't know if we have visibility on that already.
No, I don't think I can call it that. It's more like trying to find NFTs of a similar characteristic and then finding ones that are priced lower and then listing them for a slightly higher fees. That's one strategy, right? I'm sure they have many other strategies that they're testing out. I don't know enough to comment on it, but in general, this is what's happening. So they would be looking at collections that have a lot of NFTs. When I say a lot, I mean like something in the millions. And they try and find NFTs that are semi-fungible with very little to differentiate them and then trade them.
Got it. Okay. That's actually super interesting because this tries to speak to some of the problems with NFTs when you do reach that hundreds of thousands and millions. And it's not an issue for ERC20s, but for NFTs, solving this problem of liquidity for these cheap/ubiquitous NFT editions is an interesting problem to solve. So I'm happy to see some sort of progress there. I think that's all the questions that I prepared. Any key takeaways that the team wants to share before we go into the crowd chat to look for any community questions?
Yeah, I would just say, as both CJ and Kailash mentioned, we are a very customer-centric team, and we love talking to developers, talking to different projects, learning about your projects, learning about what you need from us and how we can make your life easier. So at any time, we'd love to hear from you in the developer discussion Discord. Kailash and I are both in there almost every single day. And we're also keen to hop on VC with people and to talk live about what's going on in your world so that we can better understand and use what we learn to help us build out an even better roadmap. Next to my name, it does say no DMs, but for you guys, feel free to DM me anytime as well. I'll respond to everything.
That's super exciting.
Just to add on to that, I think we are more than happy to hear from anyone that's building on top of Immutable. Any feedback is welcome. It literally helps me do my job better. So I'm obviously going to respond to every DM that comes my way about Immutable X's development experience. So yeah, keep sending them DMs about developer experience.
Is DMs the best way to reach the team, Elizabeth, Kailash, CJ, or do you want a specific like feedback form or anything like that?
So, yeah, go ahead, Kailash.
No, I was just going to say the developer discussion channel on our Discord is probably the best way to get our attention. My DMs are turned off by default on Discord, but if you do want to reach out to me, just tag me on that channel and tell me that you want to send me a message, and I'm happy to chat to you. Unless you had another way in mind, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. And I wanted to highlight to everyone that a couple of weeks ago, we published a short-term public roadmap. And so this roadmap is, it includes what we shared today and also what the other teams are working on. We wanted to publish this roadmap sooner rather than later. That's why it's only focused on the short term. We'll be building it out to include mid and long term over the coming months. When you go to that roadmap, there is a link where you can submit feedback as well. So you have options. You have what Kailash described in the Discord, or you can fill out the form as well, and we'll receive all of that feedback.
Actually, that brings me to an interesting question about the roadmap. Are there any other details you want to share about this roadmap, Elizabeth? Like, I don't know, when it's updated, what they can expect in the next few months about this roadmap, etc.
Yeah. So in terms of the roadmap, our goal is to be as transparent as possible about what all of the teams at Immutable are working on today and what value that's going to bring to everyone who's building and trading on Immutable X. In terms of the roadmap, it is quite short term. It has what we're working on now and what the teams are planning to work on next, mostly focused on the next 3 months, I would say. You can count on us to build this out so that it's more longer term. For the most part, we have pretty high confidence that everything that's on the roadmap today will be delivered within the next few months. But since we're out there talking to projects every single day, we learn new things, and the speed at which game needs, NFT project needs are changes. When we learn something new, we always consider should the roadmap be adjusted. Most of the time, the answer is no. We're prioritizing the right things, but from time to time, we do reprioritize. So if you see something shuffle or something get added, that's why. As we build out, say, month 4's roadmap, we'll just be adding to it every week or fortnight whenever we identify the next thing that the team will be addressing. So I'd say check it every couple of weeks and you'll probably see updates.
Awesome. One thing that the community is always asking about the roadmap is staking. I wonder if the team is able to comment on that. If not, that's okay. We will get the tokens team to also answer at some point.
I will let the token team explain in detail, but essentially, one of the key things for staking to be useful is that we will need to add utility to the token in the first place. You can't just stake and not expect to receive rewards. And a key part of receiving those rewards is for Immutable to turn on platform fees. So to remind everyone, platform fees will be 2% of every trade that happens on Immutable X. So that's where the staking rewards come from. If there are no fees, then there's nothing to reward people for staking. So one of the key things the team is working on is to enable the 2% protocol fee. And once that's done, we will be able to make progress on staking.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing more details on that. That's pretty much it. I'm checking the chat for any other questions. I'll give people a few more minutes to put in questions if there are any. Until then, I'd love to ask the team members, CJ, Kailash, and Elizabeth, something a little bit more casual. So I wonder how people stumbled into crypto and how people stumbled into Immutable X.
I guess I'll go first. All right. A bit over a year ago, I quit my job and I thought I was going to work on my startup that I had launched that year for a few months and then find a new role. But I learned about the opportunity at Immutable X. I did not know very much about crypto at the time. But when I learned about what Immutable X was doing, I thought it was just too big an opportunity to pass up. So I took the role. I didn't really end up working on my startup very much. And since I have worked at Immutable X, the opportunity cost of not working on Immutable X and not learning more about NFT projects and games and metaverses and digital worlds is just so great. So my business partner mostly runs the startup and I focus pretty much like 99 and 109s of my time on Immutable. I
Awesome.
wouldn't go back
Let's
though. I think that I love working at Immutable. I have so many friends here. I love what we're doing and going out and talking to the projects. I could never imagine working in a Web2 company again.
and we are happy to have you, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming on board. How about you, Kailash or CJ?
I can go next. I've been in crypto since 2015, 16. One of my biggest regrets was buying Ethereum at when it was like $15 or $16 or something, and then selling it when it went 3x.
Damn.
I've done this a bunch of times. But yes, initially I was in it for the speculation, and then I started understanding a little bit more about the technology, and eventually I've been working in Web2 companies up until the last few weeks, and I knew Elizabeth as a friend in real life, and she told me about Immutable and how cool they are, and I started researching a bit more about Immutable X, and I kind of came to the conclusion that it's pretty cool to be working there, and so I applied, went through the interview process, and I got a job, and now I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Again, glad to have you here, Kailash, as well. CJ, how about you? Would love to know a little bit about your background too.
Sure. So I probably come from more traditional engineering and not as much from the crypto side of things. But I think for me it was I remember speaking to Alex a while ago, I think early last year, about Immutable when they were kind of like in their earlier stages. And it was such an interesting problem. So like I had a bunch of projects that I'd planned to do throughout the year, but then when the time came again, I was like, we touched base again and went through the process, looked at the kind of engineering problems that Immutable was trying to solve, and even as a person who wasn't so, I guess, deep into the world of crypto and everything, understanding the sheer magnitude of engineering, like volume and the kind of data that Immutable deals with. This is a fun engineering, there's a lot of fun engineering going on over here, so we're trying to solve like massive data pipelines, making sure that we have efficient transactions going through. It's a very fun place to work, and there's a lot of good engineering problems here that we can solve. And so that's what drew me into, well, now that I'm here, I'm just looking at everything in the crypto space, and like my mind's is blowing all over the place. Just like the kind of crazy projects that are out there. It's awesome. So I think I came from an engineering perspective. I was very fascinated by the kind of engineering problems that we get to solve, and now I'm just being exposed to a whole new world. So I think it's a very different experience for me, but yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
I'm sure you will not run out of engineering problems to encounter in Immutable.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. There's one more question, the last one. Oh, can you comment anything about GameStop?
I'm not very close to
Hmm.
the GameStop partnership or marketplace. I guess what we can say from the developer experience squad is that
Yeah.
we have a team, we have a customer success team, and within our customer success team are a group of really brilliant integration engineers. So my assumption is that that team is going to be working very, very closely with GameStop on their marketplace. And we work very closely with our integration engineers as well. So we'll just be ensuring that their developer experience is as smooth as possible so that that marketplace can launch as quickly as possible. And likewise for the $100 million of grants that will be given out as well. For all of the projects that will be receiving that grant money, we want their integration experience to be as smooth as possible. Hopefully, we'll get a lot of really good feedback as well, so we can continue to improve on our roadmap and continue to improve on the developer experience. For anyone who is currently building on Immutable X or interested in building on Immutable X, I'd encourage you to check out the grants through the GameStop partnership and also the developer grants program that we have direct through Immutable X. There's a lot of tokens that we're giving away as part of the grant program.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Elizabeth, CJ, Kailash, for your time. And looking forward to interacting with the community members with you as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.